Can being a conservative allow your art to flourish? My immediate answer is I don't think so. So today I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that piss me off about conservatism as I crochet and I craft during this time of American politics and just the uneasiness of the world. I am filled with a deep anger and frustration towards people I see online and in real life who subscribe to the conservative ideology and think that the Trump administration is the correct way for our country to move forward. I personally don't think that being a conservative allows you to flourish with your creative pursuits. Art is inherently political, and a conservative ideology wants to put a suppression to that. This video isn't meant to tear anyone down in particular. I want to keep this video as respectful as possible, and I know that sometimes it's not fair to throw a general blanket statement, but for our sake of argument, I'm going to today. If you are a conservative who is into art, I do appreciate you listening to some of these things that conservatives believe and wonder to yourself, are you conservative because you really believe these things? Or are you conservative because of your environment and maybe even your religion tells you so? This video is to pinpoint things in the ideology and not about individuals. However, if you are MAGA and you subscribe to the cult, I want you to know that I think what you did with your vote was extremely violent. I do want to speak to conservatives who don't agree with what's going on and who are still trying to form their own opinion, as we are all students of society and trying to do our best to learn more by the day. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to catch my next videos, and let me know down in the comments below. This is definitely a discussion and just thoughts I'm having during this emotional period. So let's get started. I'm trying my best not to subscribe to a lot of gender norms. I mean, clearly I am a man who crochets. Crochet is typically seen as something that a woman or someone who is female would do, and seeing men do it is not as common. A lot of the reason for that is because in society, we are told that men are not to do that. That is not for them. That will make them gay. That will make them weak, right? And in my own personal experience, before I'm even asked my name, I am asked, oh, are you gay? Why does that matter, I wonder? Not that there's anything wrong with your sexuality, but why is that the first thing that people want to talk about? I wonder why we don't teach young men how to crochet. It's great for your hand-eye coordination. It's great for your mental health, and it's great to just use your hands to create something productive and, just straight up beautiful. That is implementing a gender norm that just does not need to be there. It stops young men from trying to pick up the craft and better their lives, and it makes people feel like they're put into a box. Yes, all people on all sides of the spectrum, no matter who you are, do succumb to a lot of the gender norms. We're all trying to break those. But I do feel conservatives like to keep this really tightly knit and make sure that you don't separate. For the most part, conservatives are going to be the people who want to tell you what a man can do and what a woman can do. Letting your young sons crochet, there's no way. To create art, it has to be really fluid, and gender is also fluid. And if you can't accept that, then I just don't see how you can make even better art. Art pushes against the confines of what is taught. Art pushes the envelope. And if you're not willing to see things on a spectrum, then I feel like your art can only go so far. The second point is that art is a form of self-expression. Within a conservative ideology, it seems like self-expression is limited. People on the right or the conservatives like to make fun of people who dye their hair, who do things a little bit more wacky. People who don't follow the status quo are often outcasted. And with art, it's a way to express yourself. Art is a way to put your energy into something that can reflect you, that doesn't have to look quote unquote normal or go by the status quo. So for conservatives, if the status quo is the most important thing and self-expression can only do so much, then you are going to be limited in the type of art that you create. You're going to be limited in how far you can go. You're going to be limited in your imagination. I feel like in conservative spaces, imagination isn't something that is respected or relished in. For some reason, in this ideology, the word weird is not something that is good. Weird means bad. Weird means the enemy. Weird means an outcast, which just shouldn't be the case. Art is so important, and even in today's society, the reason you get on social media is to go look at art. The things that you watch and enjoy and spend your time doing that maybe aren't productive is you are ingesting art. So to not be passionate about self-expression or allowing people to express themselves the way they want is going to limit you, and another reason why I feel like being a conservative is going to stop you from having more artistic endeavors. My next point is a point about capitalism. Although I'm talking about conservatives today, This is true for a lot of liberals and people on the left. So, this is for everybody. But we see a lot of the time that when it comes to art, it's not seen as quote unquote a real job or real work, when this couldn't be farther from the truth. Letting capitalism tell you what is and isn't real work or hard enough to make a living or, deserve human rights is to me purely evil. Capitalism is an evil system that we live in, but having people, your fellow countrymen, perpetuate it only hurts more. And I feel like for a lot of people, especially in conservative mindsets who want to stick to tradition, see the 9 to 5 as the only way to truly make a living, when this isn't true. Making art is very difficult. Being creative is a job, and it takes a lot of energy. I can only imagine how many amazing artists that we're missing out on because we are not propping them up and letting them flourish. So many artists in conservative circles and even liberal circles, sure, are told that they can't do that because it's not worth it. And what are they going to do with their life? Where's the safety net? Well, the safety nets don't exist here in America, so it's just impossible. Conservatives who vote Republican are against having any type of safety nets or using your tax dollars for the common good, such as call it socialism, which in their heads is bad. And this stops more and more people from creating art and are instead stuck with debt and working jobs that they can't escape. It's stopping so much amazing art from coming our way and being seen and changing lives. In a conservative space, it seems like control is really important. And as someone who grew up in the church, I know control is something that people salivate over. We see that with our elected officials, and we see that within our own communities. For example, conservatives like to see art. I know that. We're all human who doesn't like art. But if you're someone like me who likes to crochet, but I might dip my toes into something else, such as politics or maybe a different craft, the very first people who will say, quote unquote, stick to your art are going to be conservatives. We see that with people who are artists who want to take a stand for something. They're always told to stay in your box, stay in your lane, and don't deviate. I don't agree with this. I feel like anyone has a say for any opinion in the world. And for some reason, this is only a way to control people from going against the status quo. And it stops a lot of people from speaking out and also trying to find more dimensions in themselves. Humans are multidimensional, and I think being a conservative stops you from finding all your dimensions. We weren't meant to be in a box. We have so many years on this planet, and you're allowed to find yourself in different seasons and eras in your life. I do feel bad for conservatives who maybe aren't as conservative as they think they are, but they're in those circles and they're in those communities, and they're kind of stuck doing the same thing and not able to think even further than I know that you're capable of. Americans are an intelligent people, and I know you can do more than just following tradition. Art is a community driver. It's hard to make art when you don't have a community to share with. Art is difficult when you don't have people to enjoy it with. Art is better consumed and created with other people, and that can look very different in many different ways. But for some reason, conservatives don't seem to want to respect or make communities feel safe. For example, something as simple as respecting pronouns is very difficult for some conservatives to do. Voting for someone who will make people feel unsafe, and also wearing symbols within a community and arguing with folks in the comments and in real life, wearing symbols such as a red hat. Things like this can merely make people feel, scared to share their art when you have such a mean opinion. Simple things like this that you could respect but don't make people feel unsafe, uneasy, and not as willing to share their art in these kind of spaces. There's plenty of anecdotal evidence that people aren't able to, be themselves within these communities. We see a lot of conservatives who have hijacked the word woke and also using the acronym DEI for diversity, equity, and inclusion as bad things. How can you be openly racist and misogynistic and make a community feel safe? I think being able to respect a community and make people feel safe around you is part of being an artist and part of being a creative. Also, just part of being a decent human being. So, not being able to do those things is going to stop you from being your best self when it comes to your creative endeavors. And those are some of my points why I feel like I don't think conservatives can create good art. However, I am coming from a place of anger and, frankly, disgust about what I am seeing around me. A lot of this country decided to vote for hate and division, and you know what? I feel that in the air. I am trying to reach out to people who aren't filled with hate, but who are conservative and maybe want to change their mindset a little bit. If you think some of the things I said today that you don't agree with, but would typically fall under your ideology, you don't have to think those things. You don't have to be a quote unquote conservative or a liberal. You can just be decent. Just because you're a Republican doesn't mean you have to vote for hatred. I think art is going to be more important than ever right now, especially in American politics. So if you're being held back by your ideologies that you've grown up with your entire life, or you feel like you have to be because of your environment or geographical location, you don't have to be that way. Being an artist is political, and you can do so much with it. We are ever growing human beings, and we're allowed to have a community around us. So I really appreciate you taking the time to watch. I hope this came across as respectful, and let me know what else can stop someone from creating the best art possible. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you for the next video. Bye bye now.